Hi everyone, today I'm going to be going over my new case feeder setup. Today we're going to be going over the bench mount option. It'll be the same for all the bench mounts, but today we're going to specifically be doing it on a Lee app press. And I'm also going to kind of show you guys another little product I came out with. So let's jump right into it. Let's go over kind of the case feeder and everything. So when you order a case feeder bench mount kit, you'll get a mount pole, you'll get an extension, a barrel jack extension, a power supply, and then of course your bench mount. This will be black for video purposes. I just have a gray one here. So today we're going to be looking at the small pistol and the large rifle plates. All the pistol plates are going to come in this high feed configuration. It's just the standard I'm going to sell with them. So this small pistol plate will do all the 357 mag, 38 special, 9mm stuff, no adjustment needed. You can just go from 1 to 1 and never even have to adjust your plate. And then the large rifle plate, all the rifle plates will look like this. The small rifle plate obviously just has a little bit different of dimensioning and stuff. They all come with that clutch in the middle, tighten as needed for slippage, and they just kind of use that same hex hub design that I have on my bullet feeder. So that's that. Now let's actually take a look at the case feeder. So this case feeder, as you can tell, I kind of have some options on here that are some really nice to haves. So I have a forward and reverse. This is really nice to have if you're running too fast and you get a big long piece of rifle brass in there and it jams against this nose guide adjustment because you don't have it adjusted correctly. The clutch will obviously start spinning. You'll hear that go. And if that happens, all you have to do is basically take it from your forward running position, pop it into off, which is middle position, bump it into reverse for a second, and it'll let that piece of rifle brass go and it'll fall right down in through the hole. Another big thing that I have is a variable speed. I know a lot of case feeders and stuff have that, but it's a little off there. This funnel's graded. As you can see, it bolts on the front. So I don't know if anybody's ever used a lot of the Dillon case feeders, but if you ever get a jam, they are kind of really not fun to have to fish wire up in there and down to get that jam apart. And with this, you can just remove these four bolts and pull that whole funnel right off the top and shake the jam out. I do have a toolless drop adjuster. This hole here is really nice for taking these feed plates out. You can just kind of take your finger and poke it up and through, so you don't have to like try to hold that clutch on top of there and push it out. The mount is just a pull mount. Again, it just has a set screw in the back, just kind of like all my other stuff. And yeah, it's a complete dimensional terms of mounting, dimensional drop in for a Dillon case feeder. So if you already have a mount for, let's say, an annealer, and you're taking your Dillon case feeder back and forth from your press and doing that all the time, you can just buy one of these units and drop it right onto your existing mount. And if not, I sell a bench mount. Yeah, and barrel jack connector, really easy stuff, mechanical shutoff switch. And that's really the ins and outs of this guy. So now we can kind of go into setting up our app here. So here's my product I made that makes this really nice, has these inserts so you don't have to keep adjusting. I know some other guys make them, but I designed this because it worked really well with my case feeder. And I mean, I might be biased, but I like my design better. So let's go ahead and kind of go and set this up and go for it. So this just drops in with that Lee bolt you already have if you ordered an app. I'm just putting mine together with a crescent wrench today, because that's what I had laying around the bench. Okay, so you just adjust that like so. I won't go over this too much because odds are if you have one of these apps, you know all about this system because you're constantly adjusting it. You just set this up the exact same way you set up your Lee case feeder. A little differently once you kind of get back to this point. Okay, so once you get to this point, we're going to throw in so we're going to do B first off for 9mm. So then we're going to take our 9mm insert. We're going to slide that in. Go ahead and throw our tube adapter onto this little assembly and tighten up that thumb screw. I'm a really big fan of all the toolless stuff. I absolutely hate having to have tools. So anything I make, I try as hard as I absolutely can to not have tools. I actually might have nailed this. Just follow Lee's setup on this. I think most of the time they say throw like a quarter in here or something, but I just kind of eyeball it close enough, and if it's not scraping, I don't worry about it. So just kind of make sure your mount is at about a 90-degree angle, and go ahead and tighten up your bolts to actually mount this to your Lee press. There you go. That's all there is to that. And we'll go over a caliber change on this later on. So this is your Lee tube that you get. I sell these funnels. This will come with either kit. This Lee kit will come with a funnel, and the bench mount will come with a funnel. These just kind of have a nice snug fit on these Lee tubes. And this really helps because obviously with a bench mount, like if you're trying to nail the center of this hole and you're over here, it's a little tough. So this funnel will really help you when you get a little bit off, because your odds are probably not going to nail it. So and you will have to cut your Lee tube just so it fits everything, but that's fine because this is where you're now adjusting. If you don't end up buying my little adjustment kit, that's fine. You'll probably just end up having to have a few different tubes for a few different lengths. I made this a little long, so guys that want to go that route, you can either run this tube all the way up to the top of that funnel about like that, or you can run it clear down here at the bottom. So you get a little bit of adjustment here, but I wouldn't say a safe bet is to say that one size tube will do all of yours if you don't have this little kit. You might have to have a few of them and remember which one does what. But okay, so let's go over setting up the bench mount now. I cheated a little bit because I've set this up before, so I already kind of know where my holes are, but I will act like I don't. So we're going to throw our pipe in, and you just use your thumb screw here to tighten down your pipe. Just finger tight. They don't have to be crazy. And then we're going to do the same thing on our case feeder here and get this whole system kind of mock set up. Just kind of tight enough. And then, so here's where your funnel comes into play. And really what you do is, I'll just kind of show this. These Lee tubes are a little bit longer. So you kind of mock it up about like this. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. And you want to cut it a little bit down, maybe like a quarter to a half of an inch shorter beneath this bottom of this funnel. So you kind of have room for this guy to make the adjustment. So I just cut mine with a pair of kitchen scissors. Worked great. So I'm going to pretend like I just cut it, and then you slide your funnel adapter back on, and you get it about where you need to be, and you snap it into place. And then this is where you actually decide where your bench mount needs to go. So you kind of want to make sure your tube's straight. So you can see mine's not quite straight there. Let's back it up a little bit. Oh, we'll go over here a little bit, about there. So at this point, you'd go ahead and Sharpie your holes, and then either screw them or drill them and bolt it down to your bench. Since I already have mine, I'm just going to go ahead and disassemble this, and you can just set this whole assembly down for this part. And I will take my bench mount and screw it into where I know it goes. I always recommend using washers. It just really helps spread that force out over the holes, and you can get a nice solid mount on all this stuff. Definitely don't reef it down. Like, you don't have to go nuts here. Enough is enough. Let's throw that handle down so I can access this hole as I strip out my bit. All right. Okay, great. Awesome. We have our bench mount in. We slide our hole in all the way down. Leave it a little loose so we can give the final rotational adjustment, because you still have to rotate. Okay. Honestly, it's about straight. That's all you're aiming for. You don't need anything crazy. Okay, let's run some 9mm through this guy. Let's go ahead and set up our power supply on him. So you'll get these extensions that they're so nice to have, and you can either zip tie this back here to this pole. I usually just wrap it around a few times and kind of call it a day. Into your power supply. and then run your power supply wherever you want to get power. Okay, so let's throw in our small pistol plate. So that'll just sit on that hub. So we're just going to toss it up here, give it a nice slow rotation until we lock onto that hub, and you'll feel that lock on. So I just have a little bit of brass here, just enough to kind of demonstrate. So we'll go ahead and dump that in. And I make these these like acro bend wall mounts. I don't know if anybody even wants those. I just find they're nice to have. If you want them, let me know, and I'll put them on the website. Okay, let's go ahead and power it on. So we'll kind of spin our potentiometer up and drop it in the forward, and let it fill up this tube. And another note that I wanted to say is I don't have a decapping pin in here because I bent it. So there's no action going on here. We're just going to basically run the brass to show the function of the press. And so you can see it ran up here and it kicked our mechanical switch off and our motor shut off. So let's drop one and then it kicked on, right? And away you go. You can sit here and run brass as fast as you want. I basically just deprime with these guys. I haven't ever swaged with them. I think the swaging's pretty cool. I'll probably end up getting that kit someday. Yeah, you just sit here and as much as you want. It's awesome. Super handy. All right, we'll go ahead and shut this off and drop our brass out here very carefully. Get the rest of that brass out of there. And what's also really nice about this system is when you use it with the case feeder, as you can see right now, I don't know if anybody has these Lee apps, but they tend to struggle once you kind of get back down to the last few pieces of brass in there. Like you can see it dropped a few out right there. And when that whole tube's filled up, it has a lot of weight in here and doesn't let stuff like that happen. And so like you don't ever really have to worry about that stuff when you're running with a case feeder. It just keeps that tube full the whole time. Super nice. Okay, let's go into a large rifle. So there is our pistol brass. Let's make sure we've ran out of all of our pistol brass. Look at that. No, we didn't. I don't think I hear anything else really running around in there. Let's let it go a little longer. All right. I think we're good. We're going to call it good. So let's go ahead and change over this system. So we'll take our 9mm insert out. We'll throw a 308 insert in. We'll throw on our tube adapter. And then, of course, put in the corresponding Lee pusher. I don't know the technical term for that or what they call it, but that's what we'll call it for the video. We'll go ahead and change our plate out. And so I won't go over the setting up the drop adjuster for this in this video. I'll make a separate video and go over that. But this is just more so of the bench mount setup and kind of showcasing the Lee system. Just drop your tube right back on. No adjustment. And just like that, we're ready to go for some 308 large rifle. So let's go ahead and dump some of that large rifle in. We'll throw our bin back on the mount here. Kind of got my bin mounted a little wrong here. Everybody ignore that. Throw it back into forward. Yeah. Let that tube kind of fill up for a second and then get after it. See? There we go. I'll do it with my left hand here so you can see a little better. Yeah, and you can swage and deprime and do all types of stuff on these presses. There you go. Just a few that I had in there, running it out. Yeah, it's really about it I had for this bench mounted system and the kind of the Lee app adjuster. Definitely as time goes on, I'll get more calibers out there for you guys. And if I don't have one, just message me and then I'll offer it for sale for everybody. And I'll make it. Yeah, go check them out. PMEreloading.com.